Deontay Wilder seems to continue to claim that Anthony Joshua is ducking him. Now, one thing that strikes me right away is if you consider, since Wilder has been saying Anthony Joshua has been ducking him, Anthony Joshua has faced Carlos Takam, who was a last-minute step-in for Kubrat Pulev, who was an IBF mandatory. So, in that fight, he was dealing with his IBF mandatory. Next, he faced Joseph Parker in a unification fight and won the WBO strap. That's fair enough, right? Why not go for the unification? If the fight can be made as easy as it was, then why not make a unification bout? So there was that one, and then he had a WBA mandatory called, so he faced Alexander Povetkin. So Joshua is ducking Wilder, yet he has fought 2 mandatory challengers and faced Joseph Parker in a unification fight and won the WBO belt. So since Deontay Wilder has been calling Anthony Joshua out and saying that Anthony Joshua has been ducking him, Anthony Joshua has faced 2 mandatories and fought in a unification fight against Joe Parker. So how exactly is Anthony Joshua ducking? After Joshua fought Klitschko, that was when Wilder came out with this story that Joshua had been ducking him for years, and Joshua did not fancy the fight because he knew he would get knocked out. Now, obviously an exception can be requested from the champion when a mandatory is called, if you can make a unification fight. It was for Joseph Parker, but still, you have a limited amount of time, so if the fight cannot be made in that time, then the mandatory challenger must have their opportunity. Considering Wilder's team refused to meet with Eddie Hearn to discuss a deal, and then accepted an offer but refused to sign, even when they offered $50 million in an offer backed by Frank Warren, which would void Joshua's contractual obligations with Sky, so there was no way he could make that fight and fight on BT because he has obligations to Sky, so he couldn't have had that fight anyway. There was no way he could take that fight under any circumstances. But I don't even want to go into that because there have been so many videos explaining that and the back and forth. But what I cannot understand is how people can say Joshua has never fought anyone and say that he is ducking Wilder when he has fought Vladimir Klitschko, Joe Parker and Alexander Povetkin. He has never ducked anyone, not even in his 16th fight when he was offered the opportunity by a world champion to fight for the world title in his home country, a tactic from Martin to catch probably an inexperienced Joshua to try and beat him before he gets too good and becomes mandatory for the OBF strap anyway. But still, Joshua was willing to take the risk, and so was Eddie Hearn. So if they're willing to take the risk that early and go on to fight Vladimir Klitschko in a unification fight, a fight he never really had to take, I mean, why would you go in there with Vladimir Klitschko anyway? I mean, he's a heavy puncher, he's a great boxer, and I mean, he was in shape for that fight. It's not like you can say he was an old man. He was on his toes for the whole fight, and that was probably one of the best fights I've ever seen Vladimir Klitschko fight in. But Joshua did not have to face him. There was no one saying that he had to. He wanted to. It's an unnecessary risk, really. I mean, yeah, fair enough, Klitschko was an older opponent, but still, it's a high risk. A heavy puncher like that can take you out with one punch, and what would everyone have said if Joshua had lost? Oh, he's finished and all of that. So it was a big risk to take when he necessarily didn't have to. He wanted to fight Vladimir Klitschko, to have him on his record, and cement his legacy. That's why he faced Vladimir Klitschko. So why not duck Vladimir Klitschko? If he's going to start ducking people, then he's duck everyone. True fighters don't duck anyone, and if Anthony Joshua was a ducker, then he would be ducking all sorts of opponents. I mean, people say that about Luis Ortiz also, but Deontay Wilder fought him before the mandatory was called. So I mean, the WBA mandatory became Alexander Povetkin. It would have been Luis Ortiz if Luis Ortiz would have waited for his WBA mandatory opportunity. So for Ortiz to say that Joshua is ducking him, and for Ortiz fans to say that Joshua is ducking him, is a load of rubbish. So there we have it. I think if Anthony Joshua was a ducker, if that was part of his nature, then he would have ducked Vladimir Klitschko. But he didn't. He went and fought him. So there you have it. Anthony Joshua is not a ducker. But guys, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Please like the video and subscribe for more content. Thank you guys.